The first time, I clearly realized that the forest had fully awakened was on the 7th morning of late autumn in the kingdom. The sky that day wasn't overcast yet. The flags on the city walls barely stirred. I stood by the long window, looking at the distant fields and rivers, but a strange feeling of being watched arose within me, as if some force was slowly approaching, yet had not yet revealed its form. I had already examined the map on the table many times. The area on the edge of the Northern Territories, which was already a darker color, had spread outwards even further. It wasn't scorched black, nor were there any traces of fire. It was more like ink. The missing villages, the patrol teams that failed to return, the whispers heard at, all of this was within my expectations. What truly made me pause was the last piece of supplementary information. Someone had seen a figure in a black cloak near the edge of the forest. At that moment, my thoughts were forcibly pulled back to many years ago. I had thought that with enough time, those memories would simply fade away. But the truth was, they had only been suppressed into a deeper place. When a certain name was mentioned again, when a certain outline reappeared, all the emotions I thought had subsided would resurface. In an instant, the Northern Territories were quickly sealed off. Evacuation routes were opened, and orders were issued one after another. The kingdom continued to function in an orderly manner, but I knew very well that this time, emergency measures wouldn't be enough. That forest never accepted orders. It wouldn't retreat because of the army, nor would it stop because of the city walls. It only responded to memories, fear, and a heavy price in blood. So I decided to go myself. This decision wasn't impulsive. On the contrary, it was the only rational choice, after careful consideration, because I knew better than anyone that the source of that forest had an inseparable connection to me. I was no stranger to the road leading to the northern valleys. Many years had passed, but the scenery along the way hadn't changed much. The scent of pine resin was still strong, the earth still damp and cold, and the winding path was faintly visible in the morning mist. I had fled along this path countless times. I returned here countless times in my dreams. The small, wooden cabin still stood in the center of the valley. Smoke rose slowly from the chimney, carrying a nearly stubborn sense of life, as if reminding me that some things had not disappeared. With time the moment, I pushed the door open. Familiar chaos greeted me. The clanging of metal, the rustling of turning pages, the sound of sneezes, and the rhythmic movements imbued with emotion. All of this intertwined in my ears, creating a strange sense of reassurance. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. The Obsidian Forest was expanding. This wasn't speculation, but a fact that had already occurred. It was beginning to devour life in the real world, no longer merely existing in legends and taboos. Clues about the old covenant quickly surfaced. It wasn't a sudden disaster, but an old debt that had been delayed for far too long. The forest no longer recognized the kingdom, and the kingdom had to pay the price. for its past choices, I requested to enter the depths of the forest. No one stopped me. At that moment, I realized that this journey from the very beginning was not a decision made by one person alone. On the first day after entering the forest, there was almost no unnecessary conversation. The tree's shadows were denser than I remembered. The light filtered through layers of branches and leaves leaving only outlines. The ground beneath my feet was soft and unstable, as if it could give way at any moment. When the first collapse occurred, my body reacted almost instinctively. An arrow shot out, the rope instantly tightened, and a figure about to fall was abruptly pulled back to safety. In that instant, I clearly realized that I was no longer the child, standing in the center of danger, waiting for others to reach out to me. The forest quickly changed its strategy. It no longer tried to block us with force, but instead directly touched our most vulnerable parts. Of the darkness from which I almost never woke up, my steps began to slow. My direction began to shift. It wasn't until my cloak was gently tugged that I suddenly snapped back to my senses. The hand wasn't strong, but it was firm enough. At that moment, I realized I wasn't alone in my fear. After night fell, we stopped in the forest. The moment the bonfire was lit, a small space was pushed back from the surrounding darkness. The fear light illuminated every face, and also the true emotions hidden beneath the silence. Fear was acknowledged, not concealed. It turned out that everyone was afraid, just in different ways. When I admitted that I was still afraid, the air didn't become heavier. Instead, it lightened somewhat. At that moment, I realized that what truly breaks a person isn't fear itself, but the illusion of being alone and helpless. Late at night, I watched over the gradually dimming fire. In the darkness, a familiar silhouette slowly emerged. The figure in the black cloak wasn't in a hurry to approach. It stood quietly between the shadows of the trees, trying to awaken the turmoil within me. With its very presence, I didn't immediately retaliate. I acknowledged the existence of fear, but I no longer allowed it to dictate my actions. The regular breathing behind me reminded me that this time I wasn't alone. As the shadow gradually dissipated, I knew in my heart that the true end was near. The Obsidian Heart was located in the deepest part of the jungle. It was unusually quiet there. Even the sound of the wind seemed superfluous. The crystal lay there silently, like a forgotten but still beating heart, recording a long history of betrayal and waiting. The moment I touched it, I saw the complete truth about the expansion of the royal family, about the retreat of the forest, about how the covenant was eroded. Through repeated compromises, the problem never lay with just one person, but stemmed from choices that had been ignored. For a long time, I cut my palm without hesitation. The moment the blood fell, the Obsidian Heart lit up with a long-awaited light. It wasn't a symbol of victory, but a responsibility that had been reaffirmed. 7 hands simultaneously covered it, without vows or declarations, only silent and resolute standing. When the last of the darkness dissipated, and the forest returned to peace. I didn't feel relieved. More than anything, there was a profound weariness, and the weight that I could finally put down. The journey back was still long, but no longer suffocating. The village reappeared. People emerged from the shadows alive, and the world slowly but surely continued to turn. Standing at the edge of the forest, I finally confirmed one. I was no longer the one who needed saving. Instead, I was the one who chose to stay when darkness fell.